In July of 2023, Rex Heuermann was arrested as the suspected Long Island serial killer. The case had been cold for 10 years before a break that drove the task force to Heuermann, and in late 2023, I did a 5-part series on the case explaining the timeline of events, the evidence used to catch Rex, problems with the investigation, and possible theories to some unexplained occurrences. In Part 6, we'll look at some new witness accounts and discover what may be in store for Rex Heuermann in the future. These new updates come from lawyer John Ray, who represents some of the families of the victims found on Long Island. He stated that since witnesses may be wary of going to the police because of previous behavior, anyone could come to him with tips or information. The witnesses we'll be looking at are the 2 that came forward and signed sworn affidavits. It's Valentine's Day 1996. Lorraine Paulino and her boyfriend, a narcotics officer at the time, are looking to party with some like-minded swingers. They would frequent New York City sex clubs, specifically La Trapeze, in the late 90s, and there they saw an ad for a meetup at a house in Massapequa Park, the same town Heuermann lives in. On the way there, Lorraine's boyfriend picks up a sex worker to join in on the fun. Lorraine remembers her as hungry, disheveled, and fresh out of jail. And years later, Lorraine would identify this girl as Karen Vergata. Karen expresses concern over where they're heading, but the couple pays no attention. Upon arrival at the Heuermann house, Lorraine and her boyfriend have sex with Rex, and then comes the partner swap. Rex, Karen, and Lorraine's boyfriend go downstairs, while Lorraine and Asa Ellerup, Rex's wife, stay upstairs. Asa does not want to engage physically with Lorraine, so the 2 talk for a bit while waiting for the group downstairs to finish. After getting concerned and looking for her partner, Lorraine is greeted by him as he comes up the stairs in a hurry and seems to be keen on leaving quickly. He leads her outside to their car to leave, but as they walk outside, they see Karen Vergata through a window pleading for them to take her. But when Lorraine asks why they aren't taking her back with them, her boyfriend just replies that she wanted to stay. Pulling out of the driveway, Lorraine sees a terrified Karen Vergata running outside naked and screaming. She asks her boyfriend why Karen is running around naked, and he simply replies, "It's a game they're playing." And off they drove, leaving Karen Vergata behind. Lorraine didn't come forward for years because she never knew what happened to the girl or who she was. In 1996 on Fire Island, 2 legs and a skull were found, dubbing the victim Fire Island Jane Doe. However, after the formation of the Long Island Serial Killer Task Force in 2022, forensics developed a DNA profile of the victim, and in October of that year, identified her as Karen Vergata. When Lorraine saw her picture on TV, she went straight to John Ray to try to set things right after all those years. On a warm October night in 2009, a taxi driver receives a concerning dispatch call. The instructions are easy enough. Pick up a fare at a motel, and when she arrives, honk the horn and flash the headlights, a practice not uncommon where she was heading, Sayville Motor Lodge, a motel synonymous with prostitution. What made this call strange was dispatch mentioned the fare had locked herself in the bathroom, specifically waiting for a female driver. Cautiously pulling into the motel parking lot, the driver faces the room number she was given. Just as instructed, she starts honking her horn and flashing her lights, but no one's coming out. And after a few tense minutes of honking, the door finally opens, revealing a large man. When he sees the headlights pointing straight at him, he tries to cover his face with his arms and runs towards the SUV on the side street. Not far behind, an extremely petite girl comes running out of the room towards the taxi. She jumps inside, tears flowing, hands shaking. The driver didn't ask the girl's name, but when she eventually saw the picture on TV, she knew this was Shannan Gilbert. She was a sex worker who used Craigslist, and this is how the large man from the motor lodge befriended her. Between the parking lots at Sayville Motor Lodge and Ronkonkoma Station, where Shannan was catching a train back to New York City, they sat and talked for about an hour or 2. But with a couple hours before Shannan's train would arrive and more fares to pick up, the driver suggested Shannan wait with a friend who was at the station. The taxi driver departed for the night, having no idea who she had gotten involved with. And I don't mean Shannan. Fast forward a couple weeks, and the same taxi driver gets a dispatch call to pick up a fare named Matt by a bar in Ronkonkoma off the Long Island Expressway. Upon arriving, she sees a man crouching down on the corner of the street, slowly rising up, showing an imposing figure, and she recognizes him as the same man from the motor lodge. And just with Shannan, it wouldn't be until she saw his picture on TV that the driver identified this man as Rex Heuermann. He quickly gets into the back of the cab and starts talking to her through the rearview mirror, He told her they were changing destinations and going for a long drive in the woods. I mean, come on, dude. When the driver obviously told him she'd have to clear it with dispatch, he began arguing, getting increasingly angrier. He started by calling her a smartass, and it quickly escalated to, "I want to kill you, just give me a reason." Was he trying to tie up loose ends with the driver that picked up Shannan Gilbert and heard her story? Did he call for this ride specifically to take her out? The driver heard a gun click behind her when dispatch came through, yelling, "You have a gun on my driver, we see you, I got a call in." At this point, the driver turned off the engine and offered him to take the car or her money, but she would not take him into the woods. As the intensity of the arguing continued to escalate, dispatch came through again telling Heuermann to just walk away, and luckily he did just that, slinking off into the woods where he fired off his pistol. And that is the tale of the Long Island taxi driver. These sound like some pretty damning witness accounts, but let's look a little deeper here. The taxi driver's account sounds pretty realistic, no major holes. However, on her first encounter, she never saw the man's face, and on her second encounter, only saw him through the rearview mirror while a gun was pointed at her. Not exactly the most stress-free environment for making accurate memories. And as far as we know, there is no evidence connecting Shannan Gilbert to Sayville Motor Lodge that night. Lorraine Paulino's story, on the other hand, has quite a few peculiarities. She came forward when Karen Vergata was identified, but that was 28 years after that night. Is her memory really that good? Most of us couldn't identify someone we met a day ago. And if you want proof that she isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, take a look at this bizarre interview with News Nation.
She looked scared. So I told him, I said, "You said you spoke to her and she wants to stay because she's sleepy and hungry." He said, "Yes, she wants to stay." I said, "Okay, so why is she running outside? Now she's running outside." And he said, "Oh, you just watching everything. They're probably playing a game. Let's go home." And we left her there.
Why was she asking her boyfriend why Karen was running and screaming instead of demanding they take her with them? If I saw someone running for their life, I wouldn't say, "Why is that person running for their life?" I'd try to help them. And most puzzling, who is this narcotics officer boyfriend? In her affidavit, she states that she and John Ray know his name, but she refers to him only as RW. It seems like he would be a huge piece of the puzzle, especially knowing what cops in the area were capable of at the time. And that brings us to lawyer John Ray. To many, he's a beacon of hope, fighting a never-ending battle for those who can't. But the longer you follow John Ray, the more suspicious you become. First of all, he has a conflict of interest. He is a lawyer and his job is making connections to the victims, whether those connections are there or not. This is shown in his depositions when he constantly asks the same questions over to try to find slight inconsistencies, then build storylines around them. Not only is this against the rules, but most of the inconsistencies are easily explainable or an honest mistake. He also goes over the heads of the task force often. During an impromptu press conference, Ray announced that he had been working on the task force since the beginning, and that if people didn't feel comfortable going to the cops with tips or information, they could come to him instead. Rodney Harrison, Suffolk County Police Commissioner, joined Ray at the press conference and echoed Ray's statements, which infuriated District Attorney Ray Tierney. Tierney put out a statement saying that the task force members were not made aware of the press conference or any of the new witness evidence reported beforehand. He urged anyone with information to come directly to the task force and that private attorneys are not included. And that's all the confirmed new evidence so far. Heuermann has recently been charged with the murder of the 4th Gilgo 4 victim, Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Proceedings are happening as we speak. This is the last Long Island serial killer update for a while, so thank you everybody for watching the series, and if you haven't watched it yet, go check it out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. It really helps the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. I will see you next time.